Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds with every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are about to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are about to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are about to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is about to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayatam gate gate parasangate bodhe soha. Tayatam gate gate parasangate bodhe soha. Tayatam gate gate parasangate bodhe soha. So, I hope you're well today. And always, even through difficulties that we experience, pretty much all the time, there's some sort of difficulties going on, at different intensities. In fact, you could say that in the human life or in the samsara, that when we have relief from suffering, this is what we call happiness. Because actually it would last if it was true happiness. But it's not mahasukha, great happiness. It's ordinary sukha. Conditioned sukha. Sukha means happiness or some sort of joy, okay? It's the opposite to dukkha, or suffering, unsatisfactoriness. And so let's do some meditation now to increase our normal sukha, to relieve our dukkha, and to work our way towards mahasukha, the great happiness, you could say, or the great bliss of enlightenment. Okay. In fact, Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land is called Sukhavati, the land of ultimate bliss. Okay. If you want to know more about that, then you can shoot me some questions, or you can look it up yourself and then shoot me some questions to clarify, okay, to make sure it's the right info. Okie dokie. So let's close our eyes. Let's gently touch our lips, tongue resting on the upper palate and the mouth. Nice and relaxed body, not slouching though, not lazy. Or if you are lying down, make sure that you keep your mind upright and bright so that you don't fall asleep, because that's the position we normally sleep in. If you have a bad back or some other parts of your body, then maybe it's necessary for you to recline like this. Otherwise, for the rest of you, sit upright, shoulders nice and relaxed but not rigid. The back nice and straight. You can, if you're sitting on the floor or even on the couch, you can put something under your butt just to lift your butt a little bit, and that way you keep the lower back straighter. And try to keep, as much as possible when we get into the other meditations, still body and also relaxed body. If you have chronic problems with tension, stress, then quite often, very quickly, your body will tense up in those areas. So maybe pay attention to that every now and then to see whether that's happening, and then you release it. Release it on the out breath. So now let's release whatever tension we can from the body. Bring your mind inside the body and work the way from the feet all the way up to the legs, up the upper torso to the shoulders, down to your fingertips, and then back up to the top of your head. So let's take a few moments to do this now. Now scan your body once more to see if there's any leftover tension that you can release, and then do it. Now bring your mind to the tip of your nose initially, and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose, all the way into your lungs, and then back out your nose again. Try to keep your mind seamlessly, as much as possible, on the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and you breathe out. Breathing in, breathing out. If you'd like, you can add the extra technique of counting the breaths from 1 up to 10. 1 in breath and 1 out breath is 1, and so on. But if you get distracted on your way to counting to 10, then go back to 1 at that time. Have no worries. Don't put pressure on ourselves, because that pressure will disturb the meditation. Just be nice and relaxed. And focus your mind on your breath, the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and breathe out. If any thoughts arise or any mental activity whatsoever arises, don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. Don't try to forcefully push it away. And don't deny it. But let it go naturally and simply by replacing your mind back onto your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing onto your breath more brightly. You can see that this way, replacing your mind onto your breath or refocusing on your breath is the antidote for both the agitated mind as well as the dull mind. So let's practice like this in silence for a little bit. So now we can feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in the practice. And fill ourselves with universal loving kindness in the form of a visualization of the white light or the white nectar. Or you can just go with the feeling if you like to. The feeling is of utmost importance. The feeling of loving kindness. Fill yourself with so much universal loving kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards to other living beings. Initially your family, your friends, your loved ones. Filling them with the universal loving kindness too. Wishing that they have happiness and the causes of happiness. That they are free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering. That they are peaceful. And now also include strangers, those people that you're indifferent towards, whether you know them at all or not know them at all, I should say, whether you know them a little bit. Fill them with the universal love and kindness too. Wish that they have happiness and the causes of happiness, that they are free from suffering and free from the causes of suffering, and that they are peaceful. And now also include those you may regard as enemies. Fill them with the universal loving kindness too. This may be more difficult, but actually, if you're able to do it, then you are closer to having a mind of equanimity, that's for sure. So in the beginning, maybe you have to force it, but that's okay. That's part of the practice in developing this mind of equanimity and this mind of loving kindness, as well as compassion and empathetic joy, the four immeasurables. Fill them with the universal loving kindness, wish that they have happiness and the causes of happiness, that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and that they are peaceful. May all of these people have happiness, be free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now we will include all sentient beings, no matter whether you know about them or not, whether you have some sort of affinity towards some of them, or some sort of aversion, or are indifferent, which is probably most you're indifferent towards. So around your immediate area, all of the living beings around here, share the loving kindness with them too, wishing that they are happy, free from suffering, and are peaceful. All of the sentient beings, whether they live in the waters or under the land, on the land, in the air, whether they're born from wombs, eggs, or moisture, or through transformation. All the sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born, may they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Now let's extend further and further distance-wise to all of the living beings throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. To all of the living beings now, all sentient beings that live in your country. Innumerable, uncountable. And now throughout other countries, throughout the world, those initially that you have an affinity towards. Maybe you know them a little bit, or just have some sort of nice feeling towards them. To those you're indifferent towards, as well as those countries that, for whatever reason, you may have some sort of negative feelings towards. Have your loving kindness pervade throughout all of the countries throughout this whole world, and throughout all of the waterways, the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, and so on, until your loving kindness pervades throughout this whole planet, all the way to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. And now beyond this planet alone, throughout the whole solar system. And then throughout the whole galaxy. And the whole universe. Until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. This loving kindness that is generated in your own heart, together with the great compassion, Bodhicitta intention, sharing this loving kindness everywhere, sharing the compassion everywhere, wishing that all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, have happiness and have the causes of happiness, and that there is peace everywhere. And realize that we're all interdependent, all interconnected. We are empty of separateness. And also be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. So I had a question, came through Messenger, probably about 10 minutes before the class, from somebody, a student in Bangladesh. And they asked, what do they do when they don't get what they want, even if they have good intentions? And what can they do if they get what they don't want, even if they have good intentions? And so I answered this. I said that actually we don't always get what we want. This is in relation to the law of karma and the effects of our karma. Sometimes we get what we don't want. But if you have this good intention, then you're able to deal with it better. You know, this bodhicitta intention especially, but at least a good intention that you're going to be harmless in your mind, your body, your speech, you know, that you are going to be beneficial for yourself and for others. If you have this intention, and then, of course, you can have the bodhicitta intention to bring benefit to all sentient beings without limit. Then we can deal with these difficulties better. We won't let them become huge. We won't let them overwhelm us. Okay, so if we get what we want, if we get what we don't want, or if we don't get what we want, we should maintain a peaceful mind during this time, okay? In fact, I thought of an example, which is quite funny. And so, of course, with some of these things that you get, you don't want for sure. And then other things, you really want something, but you don't get it. Sometimes it's quite intense, quite big. So I'm not belittling that, okay, by speaking about something quite humorous here. Last week after class, or I should say actually the day was very cloudy and it looked like at some stage there would be some thunderstorms. But the dark clouds were way out into the ocean and not moving. There wasn't much wind. It was quite humid. And so I thought, no problem, going for a walk. And so I went for a walk, maybe an hour or more. And what I was wearing was just a hoodie, like a singlet under and a hoodie, and of course my sort of robe pants. And anyway, and runners. And so I went walking, and I decided to walk a little bit longer. There's one area down the beach down there where there's a small part of the beach further on than the big beach. And so I did that, did a few laps on that. And then I started walking back. And when I just about got to the staircase, it started absolutely pouring down. All of a sudden, the wind changed. Everything just became totally different. I didn't foresee this happening, and I didn't really want to get drenched. Anyway, so I started walking up the steps. There's maybe about 70 steps. It's quite big staircase. And then about halfway up, it starts hailstoning. So all of a sudden, bang, bang, bang on my head. So I had to bring the hoodie up. I very rarely put those hoods on. But anyway, by the time I sort of got to the top of the steps, I was drenched right through, really drenched. And of course, now the wind is freezing. It's actually gone it's probably dropped 10 degrees in that little minute or so. And by the time I got home, I had to, obviously take off all of my wet clothes and change and so forth, okay? I got what I didn't want, okay? Or you could say I didn't get what I wanted, which was the weather to remain just for the extra 5 minutes dry. Then the next day, I actually went for a walk, and it looked like it could rain again. So I decided this time I was going to put my raincoat on, which is actually quite, it's really hard because I sweat a lot in it, especially if the sun's out. It's black. It's made of the waterproof materials, with oiled and so forth, okay? I think they used to call it a japara. Anyway, actually used to belong to my dad. And so I decided to put that on instead of the hoodie. And so I went for a walk. And guess what? 10 minutes later, the sun came out. And I got really hot. I decided to continue walking. I walked for maybe an hour and a half. But by the time I got back home, I was drenched again, but in sweat this time. So I got what I didn't want, or I didn't get what I wanted. Okay, so just a little bit of a humorous example. But I wanted to answer that question right now because all of us go through these things, these experiences in our life daily, maybe even moment to moment on occasions. Okay, so how do you deal with it? Have a good attitude, see the humor in it a little bit, even if it's not humorous at all. Just see it a little bit, especially if you react to it. You just look at your mind and say, there's that old habit again. I'm going to be more proactive and look after my state of mind right now, rather than be reactive and reacting to the reactions and so on. Okay, so I leave that there. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you as well. I think we have maybe about 12 or 13 minutes left. And so today, of course, we're going to conclude the conclusions. This is part 3 of the conclusion. And as I mentioned last week, we'll finish this today. I already spoke about the first 4 of the 8 verses of thought transformation last week, giving conclusion, summarizing, and then giving conclusion of them. Of course, we've had in-depth commentary on all of these verses throughout the last 9 months, as well as some other details and how it relates to some of the other teachings of the Buddha, such as the 6 parameters and so on. And so today we will speak about the number 5, 6, 7, and 8, or conclude those, okay? So let's have a look at the actual verses, 5, 6, 7, 8. When others out of jealousy mistreat me with slander, abuse, and so on, I will practice accepting the defeat and offering the victory to them. When someone I have benefited and in whom I've placed great trust hurts me very badly, I will practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher. In short, I will offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers, and in secret I will take upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings. Without these practices being defiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, I will practice without grasping to release all beings from the bondage of the disturbing, unsubdued mind and karma. Okay, so that's number 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so if I just have a look at some of the notes that I've got here, I just share with you that during these Zoom classes, I have decided over time, or after a short period of doing them, that I wanted to write notes because I wanted to cover things rather than just speak off the top of my head. If they were face-to-face classes, as many of you know, then we'd be back and forth a little bit and longer periods, and I would probably cover everything I wanted to cover anyway, or pick it up the following week, for instance. But in these Zoom classes, they're reasonably short, compressed in a sense. And so I've been writing notes sometimes, even though I cover these things already sometimes, and then reiterating, okay? And so I've worked quite hard at taking notes, writing my notes, whether it's from studying the Dharma from the books and thinking about what my teachers have said over time, or from the top of my head right now, okay, or from my own writings over the years. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, and you continue to enjoy that. But every now and then, of course, it takes my focus off you, the camera, and you behind the camera, and then I have a little look here. Okay, so I apologize for that. And because of maybe I don't know, maybe in a year or two, I'm going to have to start wearing the reading glasses. I think my eyesight has slowly deteriorated over time. Of course it has, because I never used to need reading glasses. And of course, these days I still have the 1.5 magnifying glasses. They're not prescription as such, but in time, maybe I will have to have thicker ones. Who knows? Maybe those bottom of the bottle ones, really, really thick. No, I don't think that, but not that that's a problem for anybody who needs them. Anyway, so normally when others do you wrong without justification, in worldly terms, it is lawful to retaliate. So you probably remember that. I introduced that for verse number 5. Okay, I remember doing that in, I think, February or March this year, earlier in the year. So it's lawful to retaliate. So if somebody punches you in the face, then maybe it's lawful to defend yourself. Okay. If somebody starts to abuse you verbally, for instance, then you can defend yourself. But from a Dharma point of view, what's the point? This is why I also introduced the getting what you don't want and not getting what you want teaching. Okay, it relates to these verses, especially these number 5 and 6. Okay, so why react to it? You're just going to cause yourself trouble. So be proactive. Look after your mind. What's the point in getting involved in a negativity anyway? If they give you a gift and it's a bomb, do you accept it? No. You can let them have it, and then you run away quickly. Or if somebody does throw a punch and you can get out of the way, you do get out of the way. You don't sort of stand there thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. No. Or if somebody, abuses you, like I said, if they abuse you, just think about it. Actually, they really are looking in a mirror. They're really looking at themselves. They're abusing themselves. So don't take it on yourself, even if it looks like it's aimed towards you. Okay. So offer the victory to them, as the verse says. There's no victory. There's no winning. There's no losing. In fact, you're the winner by looking after your mind, not the winner against the other guy, the winner within your own mind, because our true enemy are our mental afflictions. Okay. So, but we should let it go. We should offer the victory to them. We should learn from the experience. It's an opportunity to improve ourselves and to be more proactive rather than reactive, like I mentioned earlier. Verse number 6, regarding beings that we have done a lot for and helped, okay? Normally, we expect them to repay our kindness with respect and appreciation, gratitude. We place hope in them, for instance. But, then they harm us or they abuse us or whatever it may be. Then actually we get upset by that so often. I helped them. I put so much effort into helping them. And now they treat me like that. But actually they give you the opportunity to practice the Dharma. Or we give ourselves really the opportunity by being in that position at that time. So we should think, if such a person harms me, instead I will not retaliate. I will be patient and forbear the difficulties. I will increase my patience and forbearance. I reflect on their kindness, on the kindness of this act, allowing us to be patient, transforming our thoughts, in other words, at that time, to be more beneficial for ourselves and then later on others. But also their kindness. They could have been kind to us in previous times, whether you know it or not. And see them as a special guide or a teacher. That way all living beings can be a teacher, can't they? The ones that are kind to us. Now we have to be careful with the ones that are kind to us, because they can make our ego get puffed up, They're normally really nice to us. Good. You can get that thing. Don't do that. But also the ones that are really nasty to you, don't go down and don't fight against them. All right. Have more patience. Verse number 7, Tonglen, giving, taking, or in the exhalation and inhalation. And give up all of your goodness to others. Previous mothers, give up all of your merits to others. All living beings have been our parent in the previous life, for sure. Take all of their sufferings and bad karma upon ourselves, and then, of course, let it go to the universe. Give up attachment to self and give up aversion or attachment to others. Up to this point, the verses have dealt with the practice of relative or conventional bodhicitta. We should give up thoughts of gaining something for oneself in our practice, okay? Like even better health, things like this, you know, or even I want to improve on my Dharma practice and therefore improve internally, mentally. You know, give up these thoughts because it still has a sense of self involved. This is practicing for yourself only and is worldly. It's not true compassion. Or again, give up this idea. Practice so people respect you. In other words, your ego. You know, ego getting stroked. Maybe they regard you as a great practitioner. You know, give up thoughts like that as you engage in these practices. Your practice of these techniques should be free from being influenced by any worldly or selfish motives, such as the 8 worldly winds, as mentioned in verse number 8. Okay, so verse number 8, practice of the ultimate bodhicitta. Many antidotes to the 8 worldly concerns, as mentioned. There are many antidotes, okay? We won't go into them now in detail. There are many levels to these antidotes too. Some of these antidotes for more advanced practitioners, some for more beginners, and so forth, okay? Antidotes being the practice. And so the actual antidote, the deepest antidote, you could say, or the best antidote to overcome such attitudes is understand the non-inherent or empty nature of phenomena. So then we don't get attached to or aversion from, okay? All is not inherently existent. It's like illusions. I gave you the example of my song, the Everything song. Everything is like a flicker of a lamp and so on, okay? So you can go back and revisit that class if you want a reminder or more clarification on that. Everything appears to be existent, but actually has no ultimate reality. Having understood their relative nature, be freed from self-grasping. We should practice these teachings every day. Practice the bodhicitta, maintain the bodhicitta intention every day. Bodhisattva ideals every day, okay? So that's basically, that's finished, all right? So I hope you've enjoyed, like I said earlier, the commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation. And like I said, we went into each one in depth. I gave quite, actually, in-depth overviews even, especially for a few of them. And so, or especially the specific ones. I can't remember which ones now. And then afterwards, of course, we did the in-depth commentary on each specific one and each part of each specific one. And now, of course, we've had a few conclusions or parts to the conclusion. And hopefully you really do understand very well what it is you need to do and what it is you need to avoid. Okay, this is the Dharma practice. And so if unwholesome thoughts arise in your mind, relinquish them. If wholesome thoughts arise, keep them, right? If wholesome thoughts have not arisen, have them arise. If unwholesome thoughts have not arisen, protect your mind from having them arise. You should be patient. You should be moral. Practice generosity, giving, non-attachment. Make this great effort, as I mentioned, with the bodhicitta intention. Develop a lot of enthusiasm and joy in your practice, so it's not a burden for you. Okay, and then of course develop the concentration by practicing the concentration meditation, develop the samadhi, one-pointed concentration eventually, and develop this supreme wisdom, get closer and closer to realizing this supreme wisdom. Okay, so I think maybe another 40 seconds to go. The classes from now until the end of the year, like I said, they will be random subjects, and I will work mainly off one of my books, okay, which is the series of the books are called Andrew's Pearls, And this particular one, which are actually randomly picked teachings, not in any specific order or any specific subject, is called Dharma and Encouragement Quotes, All is Well. And of course, there's the quote, there's the initial teaching, and then there's some explanation of varying lengths, varying depths for each one. There's 50 of them in the book. Okay, now I will also explain the other books to you in the coming classes. Take care. I rejoice